We now enter a world without geese for technically the first time. So, with no more villains to take on, what is the next step for our favorite fighters? Well, today we get an answer in Real Bout Fatal Fury 2, The Newcomers. Welcome back to my journey to play all the Fatal Fury games. Today we'll be tackling Real Bout 2, the final game to star Terry Bogard as series protagonist. Real Bout 2 released in arcades in 1998, 1 year after Real Bout Special and 3 years after the original Real Bout. The game has a chance of playing one of two intros when booting up, both showing one of the two new characters added to the game. Now, Real Bout 2 is pretty much identical in terms of gameplay compared to Special. However, the cool, stylish intros from that game are missing, and it overall just feels kinda hollow in comparison. The game still has the amazing visuals from Special, but it doesn't do much to stand out from it besides these two new characters. Rick Stroud is one of these new fighters, a Native American fighter who was known as the White Wolf of the Ring. He left his life as a boxer and decided to follow the wind and see where it takes him. And we have Li Jiangfei, a Chinese-American waitress in Southtown who was skilled in martial arts. She ran away from home after an argument with her parents and stayed with her uncle where she learned multiple techniques in Kung Fu. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, what exciting story is in store for Terry this time? After all, this is his last game as series protagonist. After Real Bout 1 kinda left a sour taste in my mouth, I've been really excited, hoping that this game would cleanse all my worries. And, well, Real Bout 2 has no story. Yeah, it's got no story whatsoever. Okay, well that's not entirely true, but this game's canonicity is flimsy. For example, some of the endings may be considered canon while others might not. Not to mention, the game ends with you fighting Geese or Krauser, which is impossible because we all know that Geese is dead from the last game. It seems like this game is pretty open to interpretation, so I like to think that this is just some sort of break game, allowing the characters to just breathe and have fun in the world. In Terry's ending of the game, we see him fishing out with Rock, again showing how close the two are to each other. The game has other endings too, like how the Jin brothers train under different masters, one training under Kim while the other trains under Tung Fu Rue. However, if you manage to beat this game with no continues and get a high enough score, then this happens.
Bonus game!
A plane crashes down and a new fighter appears, Alfred. Now this fight is awesome, because it confirms Alfred as a canon character inside of the Fatal Fury series. Now, you're probably wondering who Alfred is, but to tell you that, we have to go through another game. Yep, another video talking about 2 games. I know, I spoil you guys way too much. Anyways, the game in question was a port of Real Bout Special, the same one I mentioned at the end of last video. Real Bout Garo Densetsu Special, Dominated Mind. So, Garo is a word that gets thrown a lot in this series, and the reason for that is because Fatal Fury is known as Garo Densetsu in Japan, translating to Legend of the Hungry Wolf, referring to Terry, hence his nickname being the Hungry Wolf. Anyways, I use the Japanese name here because this game was never released outside of Japan, and the reason for this seems unknown. Many people think it has to do with SNK going bankrupt a while after this game's creation, or that the main villain, which is a direct homage to Alex from Clockwork Orange, was too close to copyright infringing for SNK's liking, so they just decided not to port it. Either way, in the same vein that Real Bout Special was kind of a completely different game to Real Bout, Dominated Mind is also completely different from Real Bout Special. We open up with an animated cutscene of Alfred flying through the sky with his grandfather as Terry and Andy train in a wasteland. and he almost gets hit, but thanks to Terry, they both manage to narrowly avoid getting killed. We then get a small preview of what to come. Blue Mary chilling on her bike, Mai throwing her fan at a shadowy figure, and Joe winning another fight. Hey, good for him. We then cut to this game's main antagonist, White, as he stands above a brainwashed Billy. And to finish it off, Terry and Alfred face each other down, both going all out with their super attacks before we cut to the main title. The production value on this opening alone is absolutely nuts. The animation's just so beautiful, and it really helps set the tone of this game. It establishes Alfred as a bit of an aloof but admirable guy, and shows us very little of White other than his menacing presence and his ability to defeat and brainwash Billy. Alfred is our new protagonist in this game, with Terry taking a bit of a backseat here. His moveset is super unique, and they use his love of planes into his moveset, giving him a ton of aerial moves. He's incredibly fun to play, and I love seeing his animations and his attitude. He's completely carefree, with not a stress in the world. While Terry is also quite carefree, he's still a very responsible character, whereas Alfred feels very open and free. His characterization is just really great, and I adore him. This game's character select screen is also super unique, having all the characters posed up, giving me flashbacks to those first 3 games. They even put a halo above Geese's head. That way you know he's double dead. Yep, he's never coming back. Glad to see that they're going out of their way to keep the continuity of the game. That's another point for Dominated Mind. Sorry, Real Bout 2. Anyways, the game functions as you'd expect. We make our way through new friends and enemies alike until we reach Billy Kane himself. A cutscene plays, showing him trying to break out of White's mind control and failing. So, Alfred being the kind soul he is, he beats the ever-loving shit out of Billy in hopes of fixing it. And with Billy down for the count, we make our way to the big bad himself. He greets us in this very flamboyant yet threatening tone, as we look around to see what looks like dolls scattered around this dimly lit room. An animatronic woman moves on the stairs before booking it towards us, revealing that White was underneath it the whole time, toying with us. He then points his eyeball staff at us as he screams about how he'll put us under his control as well. White as a villain is insanely cool. He is completely insane, and very different compared to the other 3 big bads we've had so far. He's expressive and psychotic, and it's downright creepy. Again, he's clearly based on Alex from Clockwork Orange, as you could tell by the design. But I've never seen this movie, so I apologize if I'm missing any little references they put in here. Either way, he's a very fun and unique character who I wish was canon. His moveset is super interesting, using some sort of magic to fight. He can summon a skull that stuns you, have a huge blast go off in a rage, or he can send you to some sort of alternate dimension. It's a very intense fight, but once you defeat him, we get a final cutscene of him crashing onto the floor, as he looks up at us with bloodshot eyes, I'm assuming? Anyways, Alfred thinks this is the appropriate time to hit a sick pose, and we transition to the aftermath. For this game, you don't really get character endings, you just get one unique screen of your character, and then the final section plays. Terry and his friends all celebrate Alfred's victory against White, and they decide to go all out and eat. It's a huge buffet table, with each character doing their own little thing. It also just occurred to me, this is the first time we've seen these characters together in the same room. It's kinda unreal seeing them all just sit down and eat lunch together. It's quite sweet. Alfred and Terry shake hands before he departs on his plane. Terry throws his hat into the sky and Alfred catches it as they take off. He thanks them for everything they've done for him as he flies off into the sunset. And that was Dominated Mind, a game that had no right to be as good as it was, with a new original story, new characters that I fell in love with, and a really cool and unique way of presenting its cutscenes. This game may just be one of my favorites in the entire series so far. It's so strange how Real Bout Special isn't canon while Real Bout 2 is. I feel like it would have made more sense to put the story of Real Bout into Special and made that canon, and then put the 2 new characters from Real Bout 2 into Dominated Mind, and have that be the continuation. It's also double confusing when you realize Dominated Mind released after Real Bout 2, with Alfred's inclusion probably just being a marketing strategy to promote the new game. I feel like Dominated Mind being canon would be so cool, and it would have made the ending of the game so symbolic, with Terry passing his hat to Alfred, an almost literal passing of the torch. And it would make even more sense as to why Terry's hat is now missing in the next game. It's a genuine shame that this game isn't canon, and it makes me even more disappointed in Real Bout 2, since it seems like so much love went into Dominated Mind, and yet the game is the one deemed not canon. I really hope we get to see Alfred again. His character is just too good to be left undone. Anyways, with that rambling out the way, I just want to say thank you so much for following me on my journey, and I hope to see you all next time where I tackle the final game in our series so far, Garo, Mark of the Wolves.